All right, Mech Commanders, I'm here to ask the question. Slight personal bias here because this is a machine that I do regularly play. I enjoy. I do think it brings something tactical to the table, but if I'm going to zoom back out and look at the various mechs, Inner Sphere, Assault Class, Navigate, Sea Bills versus Battle Value, why isn't there more love for the Banshee? Now, I understand it's an older design. I understand that it is a very, very focused design. And in that focus, A, has to be brought into play. It's going to require specific tactics. But also, when you are committing an assault mech to a very, very focused role, rather than a more generalized role or being able to excel at 3 or 4 different roles, which you can, because now you literally have the tonnage and the internal slots to be able to do those different things. When I like to say, when you get into Charger territory, where you have all of the battle value and the tonnage that you can build hyper-focused, that is going to skew a list, which means by bringing something like the Banshee to a game as part of a lance, you might not have the battle value to make up for any deficiencies. You know, you're putting a lot in a single basket. Can you pull it off? But when you can, tabletop glory is there. Now, leading into this, we all love this Battletech thing. We all have our player personalities, and this is true for any type of war game. I mean, certain armies and certain things that I play in Warhammer 40K follow a player personality. Yes, you want to win on the table. Yes, you want to have a good time with your friends, rolling dice, making stuff blow up, but you want to do it in style. You want to do it how you like to play. We all have different tactical operations and different machines that we like to explore. So I understand I'm a little bit biased towards tabletop glory and close combat. Okay, jumping in with the Banshee. And we're not going to look at the quirks, the design quirks, the fearsome, which I think in this case for that type of mech is important. We're just going base rules. We have an assault class mech that for its tonnage is relatively fast. It has excellent armor. So right away you're saying, look, this is a solid assault machine here. But then when you get into the weapons, you're like, this is an assault class mech, but it's mounting weapons that are found on like a medium mech. And even that's a little bit underwhelmed. You have a PPC, which is a great start. It gives you something to do on the way in. Usually with assault mechs, you'll see it's either a PPC or an LRM rack, usually in the 15 or 20 range, if it's not a dedicated machine. So it's no surprise to see a PPC on there. But then you've got a pop gun autocannon. Oh, and let's not forget the small laser. That's it. That's it. So you're looking and saying, this doesn't have the raw firepower to go toe-to-toe with an assault mech. Well, this is an assault mech. This is a close-in, close combat mech. When we look at the locations, tactically, when we look at the locations of the weapons, you have the fists ready to punch away. So you are going to run in as fast as you can. And again, it's relatively fast. You're running in there. You've got the tonnage to take those shots in, to not be deterred. You're going to be shooting on the way in, and then you're going to close hex to hex, base to base, and you are going to kick and you are going to punch for that 1 in 6 shot at the head. Now, here's where things get nuanced, right? I mean, it seems like it's kind of point and click. Run up there, punch things, move on to the next. On the way in, usually when we have close-in range assault mechs, look at the Battlemaster. Battlemaster could punch, but Battlemaster wants to shoot with that PPC and then get close. The PPC is there for on the way in. When it gets close, it's going to switch to the brace of lasers and machine guns and missiles and really just torrent you down and try to outlast you on sheer slabs of armor alone. So that PPC, as you fire on the way in, is to soften up the target. If I can scratch off 10, 20, 30 points of armor, or if I can hit you twice in one area, start maybe weakening things for the crit seek, it makes sense to focus with the PPC. Or we see this with like Cyclops or the Atlas, where you've got that LRM rack. The idea is to soften things up so you will often engage the target you're going to engage. The Banshee, I see things that as different. I see the Banshee on the way in. If there is no other target, yes, I am going to fire at what I'm on the way in. But because my attacks are physical based, I'm really banking on that 1 in 6 headshot. That's what I'm banking, and I don't need to soften anything up. I'm going to just smash your head off. So actually, I see on the way in the Banshee, the fact that you're closing the distance and probably bypassing other targets and other mechs. As I'm bypassing them, can I fire off some shots to maybe cripple them for the machines behind coming up? Perfect example. I'm running ahead. You've got a scout mech or a light mech that is kind of dancing around, maybe looking to work the flanks. At some point, I'm going to be somewhat close to that mech. I'll try and fire off on that mech. Or as that mech is running by me, I'll try to fire off a shot. Maybe I get lucky. Maybe I cripple it. I see the Banshee as firing off those one shots to hit motive hits or cripple something on the way in or targets of opportunity. I don't really need it to soften things up. Although, I can use it for that, but it's not necessary because I'm going to close for that 1 in 6 headshot chance. So in that case, the autocannon being a little bit underwhelmed, I'd like it higher. I'd love to have an AC-20. That would complement it. You could do various swap outs, but I don't see that as a total deficiency. And if I'm forced to sit back because of the mission, or I'm forced to be a little bit more defensive, I do have 2 weapons that complement and that I can at least fire and lay down. And essentially at that point, if I'm going to do that, since I have the armor, I'm going to stop moving. I'll try to get in cover, stop moving. So this way, at least I cut down on my walk/run modifiers, bring those to 0. So all I have to deal with is range and hopefully closing that and my opponent's modifiers. Here's the challenge, though. This is where I think the Banshee is it's not as easy to play. I've got all that slabbed armor up front. Well, the challenge is if I close into close combat, punching 1 in 6 chance of hitting you in the head, if you play that game, if you're willing to trade that game, you've got a 1 in 6 chance of knocking on my head. Now, if you're a medium or a heavy, are you going to knock my head clean off? Maybe not, but I'm still very vulnerable. What I'm saying is the Banshee in close combat, you get to kind of negate the potentiality of all that armor that I have, except kicking. I'm glad we've got that armor down there because I still have a 1 in 6 headshot chance, unless I get behind you somehow. Although, that very rarely happens going base to base. So from that perspective, I see the Banshee as being very weak because I'm going to knock your head off 1 in 6 with my mass tonnage, punch, punch, kick, or punch, punch. But I'm also very, very vulnerable to that perspective of getting hit there and taking pilot checks, consciousness checks, just as you are. But I find it to be a very brutal, fun, and effective mech. And in a similar way to the Hunchback or Autocannon 20 mechs, I get up there, you got to deal with it. You got to deal with that autocannon point blank, whether it's on a medium chassis, a heavy, or an assault. The Banshee, I get up there, I've got that raw tonnage. You got to deal with that somehow. You got to come up with some sort of answer for it. And that tactically is also a distraction because it's going to pull your attention away from other forces. Or you might have to say, look, I can't have this Banshee running around punching for a couple of turns. I need to double commit my forces for a turn or two to deal with it. That potentially, and I say potentially, could offer more tabletop opportunity if I can take advantage of it as a mech commander. So is it the most optimal mech? No, it's very dated, but it's a lot of fun to play. And being hyper-focused as an assault mech with the tonnage as a literal assault, close breakthrough, close combat mech, I find the price of admission worth it. I find it a lot of fun to play. Now, is it your favorite mech? Or why, rightly so, does it not get the love that it might deserve?